They say every marriage faces its storms, but I never imagined I would be the one to destroy my own. My name is Emily, and this is my story. A story of temptation, betrayal, guilt, and consequences that I'll carry for the rest of my life. If you've ever wondered how a single moment of weakness can unravel everything you've built, keep listening, because my journey is one you won't forget. Before I dive in, I invite you to subscribe to this channel for more real-life stories that will challenge your perspective and keep you hooked. Every story has a lesson, and perhaps through mine, you'll find one too. Let's begin. From the outside, my life seemed perfect. I lived in a charming home in Dallas, Texas, with my husband Andrew and our 2 kids, Ella and Max. Andrew was a loving husband, always providing for us and making sure we had everything we needed. I was a stay-at-home mom, busy with school pickups, playdates, and managing the household. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. We were the kind of couple people admired. Andrew, with his calm and steady demeanor, and me, the ever-smiling wife who seemed to have it all together. But what people didn't see was the growing void in our marriage. Our conversations had become routine, our intimacy reduced to rare moments of convenience. Somewhere between the demands of raising kids and the grind of daily life, we had lost each other. I missed the excitement, the spark, the feeling of being seen, not as a mom or a wife, but as a woman. It was a typical Thursday afternoon when I met him. His name was Ryan, and he was the new manager at the gym I had recently joined. I'd decided to focus on myself again, hoping that maybe getting fit would bring back a sense of purpose, or at least distract me from the monotony. Ryan was everything Andrew wasn't. He was confident, charismatic, and had a smile that made you feel like the most important person in the room. He wasn't just a fitness trainer. He was someone who listened, who noticed the little things, and who made me laugh in ways I hadn't in years. At first, our interactions were innocent. Small talk during workouts, casual compliments about my progress. It all felt harmless. But deep down, I knew there was an energy between us that was dangerous. One evening, after a particularly tough session, Ryan stopped me as I was leaving. "You know, Emily," he said, his voice warm and inviting, "you're doing great, but don't forget to take care of yourself outside the gym too. You deserve it." Those words stuck with me. It wasn't what he said, but the way he said it. For the first time in years, I felt noticed. Not as a mother, not as a wife, but as Emily, a woman. That night, as I lay in bed next to Andrew, his back turned to me as he scrolled through his phone. I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan. It was a thought I hated myself for having, but it was there, growing louder with each passing day. It didn't happen all at once. It was a series of small choices, each one blurring the line between right and wrong. A late-night message from Ryan, thanking me for being such a positive energy at the gym. A coffee meeting that turned into hours of conversation. A moment of vulnerability when I told him about my struggles in my marriage. And then, one evening, it happened. Andrew had taken the kids to visit his parents for the weekend, and I was home alone. Ryan texted, asking if I wanted to grab dinner. I knew I should say no. I knew this was crossing a boundary I could never uncross, but I said yes. That dinner turned into more. We laughed, we shared stories, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. The evening ended with a kiss that ignited a fire I couldn't put out. Ryan and I began seeing each other in secret. At first it was sporadic, a stolen lunch hour here, a gym meeting that lasted longer than it should. But soon, it became regular, almost routine. Every time I was with him, I felt a rush of excitement, of being desired, of escaping the monotony of my life. But as thrilling as it was, the guilt was always there, a shadow that grew darker with every lie I told Andrew. One evening, after another hidden rendezvous with Ryan, I came home to find Andrew waiting for me. His face was unreadable, but I could sense something was wrong. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "At the gym," I lied, my heart pounding. He didn't press further, but the way he looked at me told me he knew something wasn't right. That night, as I lay awake, I realized how far I'd fallen. I was lying to the man who had been nothing but good to me, betraying the trust of the person who had built a life with me. The guilt became unbearable. I couldn't look at Andrew without feeling like a fraud, couldn't kiss my kids goodnight without wondering what kind of example I was setting for them. One Sunday morning, as Andrew and I sat in the kitchen, I decided to tell him the truth. "Andrew, I need to talk to you," I began, my voice trembling. He looked up from his coffee, concern etched on his face. "I've done something terrible," I said, tears streaming down my cheeks. I've been unfaithful." The silence that followed was deafening. Andrew didn't yell, didn't storm out. He simply stared at me, his eyes filled with hurt I couldn't bear to see. Andrew didn't forgive me, at least not immediately. The days that followed were filled with difficult conversations, tears, and a lot of soul-searching. I ended things with Ryan that same day, telling him I couldn't continue living this double life. He understood, but the loss of him felt like ripping off a bandage that had been covering a wound I didn't know how to heal. Andrew and I decided to try counseling, not just for us, but for the sake of our kids. It wasn't easy, and there were days when I thought we wouldn't make it. But slowly, we began to rebuild. Looking back, I realize how selfish I had been, how I had let my own desires blind me to the love and stability I already had. Temptation is powerful, but it's fleeting. The real strength lies in resisting it, in holding on to the things that truly matter. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love isn't always exciting or glamorous, but it's real. And once you've broken it, putting the pieces back together is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you or made you think about your own choices, I invite you to subscribe to this channel for more stories that dive deep into life's toughest lessons. Let's keep learning together.